Bitcoin's back up at the $58,000 price level after getting a big rejection here, which actually looked like things could be starting to tumble. So I'm going to be covering with you where I think this can be going, and if we can actually recover above this $58,000 price level. So if you're excited for this one, do me a favor and smash up those likes as we get into this. And as usual, the links to the best exchanges in the game are down below, with Bybit over here giving you up to $30,000 in completely free trading capital when you get signed up and starting to trade. And Blowfin, a phenomenal alternative with some really nice offers for you guys. Very accessible depending on what you deposit. Big money coming back into your account that you can trade with, and any profits you generate with that capital are yours to keep. So super cool stuff. And obviously it's the same kind of platform that you're already used to, that you've been using for a while. So definitely well worth checking these offers out. But let's go ahead and take a look at Bitcoin here, because we did get this big drop which was now recovered, and we are now back up at this resistance zone. We're back in this green box of resistance, and I outlined to you guys when we entered this zone that this is kind of the sideways trading range that I'm interested in seeing if Bitcoin can hold. It stretches between $61,000 and $58,000. We have managed to fall below it and then back test it and find resistance, and again, and right now this is another test. Now, we have tested this level quite a bit, so I don't necessarily think that it's going to be super strong resistance here, and we're going to dive into that as well in the next couple of minutes. So super exciting. But we have also now come down to set a low, which is very interesting, down at 52,500. Okay, so the previous low that Bitcoin set was actually down here at about 49,000. I think that's a really big deal, because we're now actually seeing a situation in this market where Bitcoin has managed to set a new higher low, and I think that's really cool, right? If we take a look at this, we've got a low right here and now a higher low over here, and so there are going to be people kind of looking for that type of, inverse head and shoulders pattern. This obviously is not an inverse head and shoulders, not even close, but it's got the same basic characteristic, which I think is really good, which is that, we punch in a low, we sweep it, but then we match that low the next time, which means that we don't have enough kind of weakness to continue trending down, and that's a really good sign for the bulls, and obviously a very bad sign for the bears as well. So that's definitely interesting. There's a lot of things that I think we're still perfectly on track for. I mean, if we take a look at this beautiful falling descending channel that Bitcoin has been having for a long time now. We entered this channel way back when it was over here. This was 200 days ago. So, this is nearly 7 months now. We're still holding on to this range really well, and we're actually just hugging that midpoint here, which I think is absolutely fantastic. In fact, if we zoom in, this midpoint is exactly where Bitcoin was finding a little bit of support and resistance, which is exactly what we expected. We've continued to find support right there and resistance at this very midpoint line. Absolutely nobody is talking about this, but you are subscribed to this channel, so you know all about it. So shout out to those of you who are staying tuned to this content. And of course, if you have checked that bell icon, which is going to be next to the subscribe button here on your phone or on your laptop or whatever, you're going to get notified when I make these videos as well, which is super cool. In addition to that, also more free analysis from me and my team around the clock if you want to join my Four Flies Gold Telegram channel. That's linked in the description too. But I'm liking the fact that we're kind of holding on to this price level here. I think that we're looking pretty good. And I also just want to point out, before we really get into the meat and potatoes of this analysis here, ladies and gents, that Bitcoin has done phenomenally well in terms of consolidation now. I mean, if we take a look at this in terms of time, Bitcoin entered this consolidation range, I'd say over here, and exited it, I'd say over here. And between these two green lines, we are looking at roughly a 210, 220 day range of time, and in terms of price range, it did stretch about 27%. So if we measure this from kind of low to high, we're well above 27%. But if we measure this in terms of time and just start dropping a couple of lines here on this chart, I think it's fair to say that we entered this range probably about over here, and we're still in it up to today. And if we measure the distance between these two green lines, we're very nearly there. We're very nearly at a 7-month consolidation period. I firmly believe that this is not going to last longer than 7 months, and we've got about 20 days left for that to, I don't know, last 7 months. I think September, as we all know, generally isn't a great month for Bitcoin. That doesn't mean that this has to be a bad month at all, but generally it's not a great month. But October is almost always a bullish month for Bitcoin, and that's something that you can see across price history. We can actually just take a very quick kind of trip down. Oh my God, my neck. We can actually take a quick trip down memory lane to take a look at that. If we look at kind of October of last year, we had if I just draw some boxes here, this is October, kind of looking something a little bit like this. I mean, I'm not drawing it exactly, but I'm just trying to make quick and easy points to you guys. We're not too worried about accuracy here, just to make the point. But this is what October looked like in 2022, 2023, and then 2021. If we take a look at 2021, what was October doing back here? So this was October, right? Something a little bit like this. So look, we can keep going back, and you should do it in your own time if you're curious. But what I think is abundantly clear is that October is typically a great month for Bitcoin. So, if that's something that you like in terms of analysis, then that's going to be interesting to you. I don't care. I don't actually think that kind of analysis is particularly smart to do, but a lot of other people do, so I don't mind talking about it. But yeah, if we bring it back to Bitcoin here now, I think the fact that Bitcoin has held this range is pretty good. I think if we're looking at this from the halving narrative point of view, then we're also doing absolutely great, right? We know that the halving happened, what was it, like somewhere in April, let's say like April 19, somewhere around there. This was kind of the halving, and we also know that typically when halvings happen, Bitcoin just kind of doesn't really do anything and then continues to move a long while after that. And I think that that's, again, exactly what Bitcoin is playing into right now. So that's all the macro stuff, but the stuff that you came here for, the stuff that I think is much more interesting, is what Bitcoin might do right now at this very moment. And first of all, I want to point out to you that this is a fucking great candle, ladies and gents. I mean, as far as candles go on this chart, we have a massive wick to the upside here. This wick extends at the current time that I'm recording this video. It extends 3.7%, $2,000. And now if we can continue to trade just a little bit higher before closing this daily candle, we are going to get a perfect bullish hammer. Take a look at this. The bullish hammer is one of my favorite charting tools. It is something that basically tells you that the price traded all the way down here, but the market completely rejected it, and the market wanted to trade a hell of a lot higher. So I think that's a really, really strong sign. You typically find these kind of things coming in at bottoms, but also just continuations, right? You can also continue a trend, which is generally moving up with bullish hammers like this right here. I know that this is a little bit blurry, but I'm sure that you understand my point. And by the way, we've formed bullish hammers before with great success for Bitcoin. I want to see if I can put myself on the spot and embarrass myself a little bit and see if I can spot one for you. I already have spotted one, but it's not great. This is another bullish hammer, and the next day we trade a little bit higher. It's not a phenomenal example because it was a market top, but it's still definitely valid. This one is a bit of a bullish hammer. We have a bit of a wick to the upside, but I think most of the candle obviously is trading in the top half of this of this candle and wick. So clearly, some sort of a bullish candle, a bullish hammer, and that ended up taking Bitcoin higher. So I don't know what's going to happen. I can't see the future, but if this market ends up holding this price level for the next kind of 5-6 hours, it's about 6.5 hours, my bad, until this candle closes, then I think we're going to be looking at a pretty good spot here, because we have set this new higher low in this market, from what was this $49,000 now to 52.5. This is another potential kind of higher low, at least on a shorter term time frame. So I'm really liking the look of that. Now, if we take a look at some of our key indicators that are offering resistance, actually, no, we're not going to do that yet. We're going to look at that in just a second. If we take a look at this resistance area, this is clearly, I think, where Bitcoin could be encountering a little bit of a problem here. And if we look at this on the 4-hour time frame, you can definitely see that this area was providing resistance to Bitcoin back in July of this year, and a lot of support in August last month as well. So clearly a charged level in this market, but I do think that if it means that if we are able to get above it, then it should be very easy to get back above to $61,000. And then again, I just think it's kind of a matter of time, right? I mean, if Bitcoin does get back up here, then its support is again going to be at 58,000. And, again, this was a pretty good area of support, right? So it was a pretty good area of resistance, pretty good area of support. We've now tested it 3-4 times before potentially breaking up. So I think the chances of us breaking up now are a little bit higher. And to me, that's also a really, really good sign. But just putting that aside, I think that we're also clearly looking at a situation here, ladies and gents, where if Bitcoin can get above this $58,000 zone of resistance, and if it finds resistance at 61K, again, this will flip back into support, I think, and this could allow Bitcoin to kind of, do something a little bit like this, move up, then find support, and then break out, right? And again, I think the key breakout zone, I've been saying this for a while, my opinions remain completely unchanged. The key breakout zone for Bitcoin where this gets really interesting for me is $64,000. This was the last macro high that we've got. And again, macro is going to kind of depend on how you view these markets, because somebody else might say that actually this was the macro high, and I would agree with them. So, macro depends on the time frame. But in terms of this kind of time frame that we're looking at, this is the real significant high that I think Bitcoin needs to break. And I think that if Bitcoin isn't able to break it, we could be looking at a bit of trouble. But if it can, then I really, really just cannot see how Bitcoin can't set a new all-time high at this point. I mean, 7 months of consolidation. A lot of people have gotten really bearish about this market. Obviously, I haven't since the very, very beginning. You guys have known about this. Shout out to those of you, once again, that are subscribed and kind of staying tuned to this channel. I've made a big point of how I'm bullish on this market for a long time. I've been bullish since right at the fucking bottom at $16,000 when I was telling everyone that I think we're going to hit 30 or 40. I didn't think that we'd hit 74, but I was right about the direction, at least. And of course, I've been in a long position this entire time, which I've shown you guys many, many times. I don't know if this is one of my screenshots where I was flexing it or not. It probably is. Yeah, I mean, this is very outdated. I mean, this is the same position that I opened at $21,500. But the screenshot was taken when Bitcoin was literally like, 10K, 15K lower than this, right? So, I'm in substantially more profit than that now. I've made other profits along the way. This is obviously what I'm interested in doing, and yet at the same time, I think a lot of other people, from the bottom all the way up to now, and especially now, have gotten really scared and really bearish of this market. They just burnt out. But the reality, if you look at what the price is actually doing, is that, and I keep saying this every time because, these are facts, right? I mean, you can choose to be, a bitch about it, but, the facts are still going to be facts if you want to do that, and from the absolute low to the absolute high, it's a 370% move up with a 22% move down. So, forgive me for not being scared about it like everybody else. I just prefer to ground myself in facts because I like making money in these markets, and because of that, I think that, yeah, definitely we're in a very strong place. I cannot be concerned about this market. We can drop down to 30K and I won't be concerned about this market. I've said that publicly many, many times, and I fully believe it. Take a look at Ethereum against Bitcoin, by the way, about to roll over. Shout out to those of you that were tuning into my live streams recently and all the other videos where I was giving you analysis on Ethereum against Bitcoin. It is about to roll over again. We've been 100% correct about this market here, and if this does drop, then the next support zone for Ethereum against Bitcoin is going to be 0.039 BTC per token, and I think that's definitely an area that Ethereum could fall down to. Granted, it's not a big drop, it's only like a 4% drop, but that's 4% against Bitcoin, so I think it is quite significant, and of course Bitcoin's dominance is continuing to move up here as well, so that's very interesting. But like I said, I think, yeah, a little bit of resistance here for Bitcoin on the cards, a little bit of resistance up ahead at 61K, but the key zone is going to be 64. If we're able to break that, that basically means that we've kind of broken a key macro resistance level, and breaking a key macro resistance level in a situation like this after so many months of consolidation, and bear in mind, we haven't actually done this yet, right? Like, ever since we topped out at the all-time high, every high has been lower. I'm going to count these as a double top because, they kind of are double tops, but, if we just, just so I can help you visualize this, if we just start drawing some horizontal lines to show you exactly what's been going on at these price levels, we've got, oh shit, that's a Fibonacci, my bad. We've got, the all-time high right here, followed by a high over here, followed by highs over here, followed by highs over here, followed by highs over here. So at no point was Bitcoin ever able to set a subsequently higher high. Bitcoin has not been able to set any highs higher than its previous high since we set the all-time high. Okay, the all-time high was the last time that Bitcoin set a higher high on a macro scale in this market, and what that means is that it's just a lot easier to set a higher high now because our highs have kept getting lower. Okay, the bar that we need to make, the bar that we need to basically beat in order to be bullish is no longer here at the all-time high. It's now down here at 65. I'm sorry, I kept on saying 64. It's actually 65K. And that to me is huge. I mean, again, when I talk about reasons that I just cannot bring myself to be scared like everybody else and their grandmother, it's because of stuff like this, yeah? Because I'm just keeping a very realistic, sober perspective on these markets, and that's what pays me, so you best believe that's what I'm going to keep on doing here. So I think that's absolutely great. But if we take a look at a couple of the indicators that, Bitcoin has been enjoying some, resistance from, or even support, on the 4-hour, we have a heavy cloud of resistance for Bitcoin that has just formed right now. This is a problem. This is Bitcoin's biggest problem right now, I would say. It's at resistance right now that's horizontal, and it's encountering a big Ichimoku cloud. As we know, the wider these clouds are, typically the bigger the resistance is. So I think that this is really telling us that Bitcoin could be in for a bit of a struggle here. However, if it just pumps up like super quick, today, tomorrow, then, this isn't going to be too bad. The cloud really only gets bad, after tomorrow. That's where it gets very, very thick. But, this is kind of a nice window of opportunity that we've nearly lost. So I don't think anything's going to happen that quickly, but I'm putting it out there anyway. Obviously, I think that these things are always going to be, much, much more dependent on what happens in markets like the S&P 500, indices like the S&P 500. So I think that's something I'm going to continue to keep an eye on with you guys, and for obviously the dollar as well. We'll talk about all that in just a second. We're not quite ready to get there yet, but if we do look at that Ichimoku cloud, like I said, I think that this is definitely providing a little bit of resistance to Bitcoin. If we look at this on the daily time frame, we also have resistance on the daily time frame here. So we're starting to see some confluence here across multiple different time frames, that this is a dangerous zone for Bitcoin, kind of anywhere from here up to about 61k. I think that if Bitcoin can beat this block of resistance, then 65 should be no problem, and we should even be able to break 65. I kept on saying that this is the key level to make Bitcoin bullish again, or like to make Bitcoin set an all-time high, but it's not going to be the hardest level. I think the hardest level for Bitcoin to beat is right here. I think anywhere between 57 and 61. This is the hardest resistance block that Bitcoin has on its chart right now, in my view, and that means that I think if Bitcoin can get above 61, then I don't think 65 is going to be a problem, right? If you can beat the strong resistance, then I don't think that the moderate resistance is going to be such a big problem. So I think that is absolutely fantastic for Bitcoin as well. Now, if we take a look at this with the EMA ribbon on the daily time frame, we're continuing to find resistance from the EMA ribbon. It's been pretty nasty for Bitcoin so far, and it could definitely be bad again right now. Look, if this is a situation where Bitcoin finds resistance, it's going to be a very, very typical situation of Bitcoin finding resistance. I mean, it's got everything going against it right now on this chart. It's got horizontal resistance, it's got Ichimoku resistance, it's got EMA resistance, and it's got Ichimoku resistance on two different time frames. So that counts as two different downsides, in my opinion. So it's a pretty shit position for Bitcoin just based off these things, I would say. I really, really don't think that Bitcoin's in a phenomenal position just according to those things. And if we did end up getting a drop, it would be very, very obvious why we did get one in hindsight. So I do want you guys to keep that in mind with this market. Now, does that mean that things like our bullish hammer don't matter? Well, again, first of all, we need to see that daily close. We've still got many hours left in this trading session. But I think that, things like a bullish hammer are pretty good. In my experience, bullish hammers actually, they tend to work out much more often than they don't work out, in my experience. So, maybe that counts for something. But yeah, I mean, we are still at resistance, and we have been kind of rallying up for a couple of days. So is that actually going to stick? I don't know. I do think that these are dependent a lot more on traditional finance. So if we go ahead and take a look at traditional finance right here with the S&P 500, we have clearly gotten above our zone of resistance right here at about 5,500, 5,480. We're now a little bit above it, and we're actually at 5,500. And I think that this is a very strong sign for the S&P 500 because it has seen yet another correction here, and it's also managed to recover from that correction. Now, is this recovery going to stick, or are we going to sweep this low? Now, if we sweep this low, I think we're coming at least down to this green box, because this was a gap for the S&P 500, and a lot of traders like it when the markets fill these gaps. I don't think they matter, but a lot of people like it. So I think that if we do kind of fall down, this is going to be the level to watch, 5,400 flat. If we do lose it, then yeah, we could be going, a little bit or significantly lower. But as it is right now, I think we're pretty good. Anything above that level, especially above this red box here at about 5,480, 5,470, I really think that the S&P 500 could just be kind of getting ready to continue to move up now as well, especially because the S&P 500 doesn't usually spend that much time kind of, messing around and correcting. It usually just corrects and then it's done, so it doesn't actually need to mess about too much, and that's obviously nice for us, for our mental health. So I think that's cool. And if we take a look at this against, if we take a look at the dollar as well, against the other currencies in this basket, for the index here, we've seen a little bit of stress for the dollar. I think typically when the dollar kind of fell down to support zones like where we are right now, we typically saw kind of pretty quick recoveries here, with this big exception over here. So it looks like we're kind of forming one of those exceptions again. But what I do want to point out to you is that when you do start kind of forming exceptions like this, when you do start kind of, just hanging out at your support level, you are typically very likely to break that support level on that occasion. And if you don't break it then, you're very likely to break it afterwards. And, by the way, I do want to point out to you that if we take a look at this on Bitcoin right here, if we take the 4-hour time frame, I'm just going to hide my camera so you can see my screen properly. That is exactly what happened back here, right? I mean, Bitcoin kind of fell below, I should say, I don't know, if I just kind of draw this as a box just to make this easy, Bitcoin kind of, it was just spending a little bit too long hanging out down here, and it was just kind of messing about too much. And yeah, it didn't actually drop down into the 40s on this occasion, but the next time it did. And that's exactly what I was just saying about this right here, right? Like if you're kind of spending a bit too much time messing about over here, like I said, you probably are going to drop on that same occasion. But if you don't, oftentimes it'll happen the next time. Okay, so that's exactly what happened to Bitcoin right here. If we, take a look at the fact that Bitcoin was just kind of sideways here, it didn't drop on this occasion, but the next time it did drop. And by the way, we can just move this box up and we can make the exact same point. If I grab this box, we can make the exact same point about this, right? If we take a look at this right here, this is the same damn thing. I mean, if we look at Bitcoin's bounces off this level previously, we're looking at quick bounces. They resolve themselves quickly and things are absolutely great. On this occasion here, we slowed down a little bit. So this wasn't the occasion that we actually fell below the support level, but the next one was. So again, these are just really nice kind of early warning signs of weakness. And if that's what we're looking at right here, whether it happens on this occasion or we get a bounce and then it happens, this is not good for the dollar, and it could definitely mean very good things for our pockets as investors in these speculative markets. So I do want you guys to keep that in mind as you continue to watch these markets. And I do think that the dollar is actually going to do that. Not necessarily, unfortunately for us, I think that the dollar is still kind of poised to move upward. I've been saying that for a while, and it's already happened. It's happened enough for me to feel like that analysis was correct. But I think that this can definitely go higher. I mean, I really wouldn't be surprised if the dollar manages to make its way back up to about 102.7. This is a pretty magnetic zone for the dollar right here. You've seen a lot kind of happening at this price range in terms of support and resistance and consolidation. So I think it definitely makes sense for the dollar to kind of get up there. And what does that mean for Bitcoin? I mean, given how low Bitcoin went, every time every time the dollar recovered, it could easily place Bitcoin in the 40s. Lately, we've lost that inverse correlation quite a bit. So it's a lot harder to say now what might happen based off the dollar and Bitcoin, but I do still think that, overall the dollar is going to continue to work against Bitcoin here. So that's going to be something that I'm going to be watching for. And it's not a Bitcoin thing, to be very clear. I've said this again many, many times. It's more traditional finance and the fact that money from traditional finance is really the only money that moves Bitcoin these days. So you need traditional finance players to be happy with what they're seeing here. Now, I've talked a lot about upside and what happens if we and how we might not get that upside, but I want to talk to you about what happens if we don't get the upside, if this actually goes sour. And if it does go sour, then we've got the low down here, right? I mean, we've kind of already bounced off this low pretty nicely, so I think that this is obviously going to be a level that people in this market are going to be watching and interested in. If I just make this a nice thin line, it's at $53,700. It's a pretty good support level. Bitcoin has kind of spent a bit of time messing around here this year. Not a whole lot before this, and if we go back to 2021, there was a little bit of kind of interaction around these levels. Again, you're seeing your standard kind of a couple of bounces, not really much resistance, and again some bounces back here. So is it the strongest level in the world? Hell no. Is it relevant now? Probably somewhat relevant. I don't know if I would expect that Bitcoin actually gets a bounce off this level again and then we kind of continue. It could happen, especially considering that Bitcoin is doing this kind of 7-month consolidation thing. But I think more likely, if we really test this level with any vigor, and especially if we bounce back down and come back, I don't expect this level to hold. I don't think it's a particularly substantial support level for this market. So I'm going to be watching out for that, because if it doesn't hold, then, it's this red box as far as I'm concerned. We're coming down to 48 or even lower, down to about 44. So we'll see how that goes. This is a great opportunity, I think, that some people are going to be looking at for shorts. I'm personally not taking any shorts here, but I do think that a lot of other people are going to be interested. And speaking of trades, like I said, you're getting a shit ton of free money when you start signing up to the exchanges that I talk about with the links down below. Bybit is going to give you up to $30,000 for free to trade with. Apex is a decentralized exchange, also giving you up to $30,000, if I'm not mistaken, when you begin trading using my link down below. And Apex is huge because it's a decentralized exchange, basically made from the people at Bybit. So this is really, really big. It directly plugs in with Bybit. It's super easy to use if you're already on it, and it's everything that you're used to. It's just completely decentralized, which means most importantly that you keep the custody to your funds. And if you know anything about crypto, if you know the first thing about crypto, then you will know just how important that is. And God forbid you don't know that that's important in crypto. You've got some reading to do, my friend, because you're going to find yourself in some trouble if you don't understand the importance of self-custody. So Apex allows you to do that, and you're going to get free money for doing it as well, which is super, super cool. And Blowfin, again, a phenomenal alternative. Tons and tons of bonuses that they're giving you. Very easily accessible bonuses, right? I mean, all you have to do to get this right here is deposit $1,000 and make 1.5 million in trading volume. These are not that hard to achieve, and you've got this basically for the next month. So that's a lot of time to get paid out. and get some really, really nice extra cash deposited into your account, again, which you can trade with. That's money that they're giving you to trade with, right? Imagine that I just gave you free money, that you could just trade with. It's a pretty damn cool offer, so definitely well worth checking out. And again, a super, super familiar platform there. So ladies and gents, I really hope you've enjoyed this one. I think before I go off, I want to talk to you a little bit about Bitcoin's dominance as well before I actually sign off on this one. I think that Bitcoin's dominance continues to move sideways here before coiling up for another move up. A lot of people are talking to me about how Bitcoin's dominance looks like it's ready to kind of top out and move down. I don't know where the hell people are getting ideas like that from. Like every time somebody tells me that they think Bitcoin's dominance is going to go down, I'm like, oh, okay. Why do you think that is? You know, and I'm not trying to like be a dick about it, but I'm just genuinely curious, like, why? Why do you think Bitcoin's dominance is going to continue to move down? I mean, you know, it's going to start moving down. I mean, you know, to be very clear, ladies and gents, it's been trending up since November of 2022. That's now nearly 2 whole years that Bitcoin's dominance has been going up. I'm not saying that it has to keep going up just based off that alone, but I am sure as hell saying that if you think it's going to reverse, there's got to be a reason for it, right? Is it just based off a hunch? Because I don't do hunches, ladies and gents. That's not quantifiable, and that's not particularly reliable as a trader. So, you know, if there's a hunch, I'm okay with that, but then I'm going to explore it and back it up with facts. And if I can't back it up with facts, then I don't care. I'm dismissing the hunch. So I think that's really, really important. A lot of other people think that they don't have to do things like this because they just got it like that, you know, or something like that. But good luck to you. You know, I've seen this play out over the long run. I've been doing this for over 7 years. People who operate like that have never stuck around in this game. You know, unfortunately, the raw, honest truth of it, and this is why you come to me, the raw, honest truth of it, ladies and gents, is that if you genuinely want to make a lot of money and you want to stick around for a while and not leave because you fucked your portfolio completely, you need to take your feelings out of it. You know, not rely on it because you think that, I don't know, you got a fucking prophecy or you had a dream about something or you just have a feeling. Yeah, you guys who get it will get it. You know, a lot of people just will never understand. But hey, they are exit liquidity, so I don't mind. But like I said, I think Bitcoin's dominance, you know, it still has a very clear path to continue to rise up. It's shown absolutely no signs of slowing down or stopping at all, and I don't think that that's going to change anytime soon. Whether Bitcoin goes up or down, we've clearly seen that Bitcoin's dominance continues to go up. I mean, lately Bitcoin has been going up, and so too has the Bitcoin's dominance. You know, when Bitcoin goes down, so Bitcoin's dominance continues to go up anyway. So, you know, I think it's abundantly clear. Solana's looking pretty sweet. You know, I was looking at a short, but I was telling you guys that I would not do it because it's so risky. So obviously that's more evidence that Solana short traders are gambling with their mental health and their money at the same time. I would not do it, but yeah, we have seen Solana kind of bounce off this beautiful support level here. So could it continue to move up? I don't know, but it's in a good position to do so. And if it does move up, then it's got big upside, at least to 160, if not significantly higher. So I think that's also pretty damn sweet. So yeah, pretty good stuff across the board here, ladies and gents. I'm liking what I'm seeing. I think the market is moving in super sensible ways. I think we're going to have to see how this goes. I'm still bullish overall, but I completely understand that there is a shitload of resistance that Bitcoin is facing right now. So we're going to have to see if that works out for Bitcoin. But the bottom line for me is if we are able to get above 61K, I'm just not worried about this market again. And it's back to Lambos, yachts, and your ex-girlfriend back in your life as well. So super cool stuff. If you enjoyed this video, you know what to do. Smash up those likes, double check that you're subscribed, click the bell and all that good stuff. And I'll see you all in the next one. Cheers.